All right, tonight from all the way across the pond again is Robert Bonomo. He's an esotericist, a blogger, novelist, filmmaker. His latest film, documentary on the major arcana of the tarot, the 21 Faces of God. And he's been, all around podcasts and radios. Been on Skeptical and a few other ones. So yeah, we're really interested to talk about a few things with him tonight. Thanks for staying up so late for us, buddy.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's a tough one because we always got to do either like really early right after work for us, and if you're a night owl, or then we do like a Sunday afternoon, early afternoon thing or something like that. And I mean that's not the best for people either. Sunday evening podcasting, like.
Oh yeah, we were lucky. Robert made it easy on us. So
yeah.
He was even willing to go later.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. So what's new? You got your documentary out. It looks really interesting. I saw some of it.
Yeah.
Today, yeah. How's that going?
It's been a 2-year project.
Wow.
So what I did was I did 5 introductory sections. So I do a short introduction, then I do duality, the archetypes, the history of the tarot, the structure, and then I go through each card. So this thing took me over 2 years. And I basically just got it all. It's all done. There's a long form version. So if the folks that are into just like sitting down, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. So, be prepared.
Yeah.
But then I broke it up into 27 sections.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's
I watch it both ways.
Yeah, nice and easily digestible.
Right.
In those like 10, I think the longest one was about 20 minutes, if that.
Yeah. Definitely. I think, like 15, maybe 14, something like that.
So why did you want to do this and this movie, and what's special about this sort of set that you're talking about, or this deck, or whatever you call it?
Sure. So let me the tarot, right? It's 78 cards,
mm-hmm.
and you have 56 minor cards. Now the 56 minor cards is like a normal playing card deck.
Yep.
Okay, like the ones we usually use. And then the 22 major arcana, that's what this film is about.
Okay.
And this emerges in the 14th, 15th century in Renaissance Italy.
15th, okay.
Yeah, I guess it would be the Visconti deck would be like in the 1430s, something like that. It's not exactly clear the date, but it's around that time. And it's in my opinion, it's in the major arcana that you get the real deep meaning of the cards.
Okay.
And I wrote an article about this recently. The tarot is kind of like the poor cousin of alchemy, the Kabbalah, astrology. Tarot is just, there are no great books about tarot. There's no like a fundamental text for the tarot like there is for Kabbalah or for astrology. So I think that the tarot is kind of whatever people want it to be, and that's not what it is. There are archetypes embedded in the tarot that I think are pretty powerful. So what I wanted to do was sort of explore a little bit the history and structure of them, and then go through not only each card, the meaning of each card, but in my opinion, it's a path. It's a path to awakening.
Okay.
That's what I really tried to achieve in the film.
Huh.
What was your favorite? What turned out to, I guess, what was the biggest surprise when you started making it?
Yeah, the biggest surprise, I guess, was that I finished it. No, no, but I mean, 2 years.
I know the feeling.
There were moments that were that I thought, I'm not going to make it. But yeah, I got stuck on a couple of cards. Like the Fool, I got stuck on the Fool. It took me about 3 or 4 months to get through the Fool. Temperance was another card that I had a lot of problems with. But what shocked me was that at the end, I feel like I was able to open up the deeper meaning of the card. So I learned an enormous amount making this film. And I've been a tarot reader now for, 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And I have a certain, I have a good feel for the cards. I mean, I do astrology also, but the tarot, I feel, and I thought I knew the cards, but I learned so much.
So when it came time to writing like a whole chapter about it, then it was a bit more difficult?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you make a film like this, it's like when you teach, because I also teach. I've taught in universities and stuff. You think you know something, but then try and teach it, and then you're like, oh man, do I really understand that? If somebody asks me a question, it's same with writing. It's the same way.
Yeah.
You learn a lot.
Yeah.
Do you need to be like, are tarot cards something that needs to be, if you're going to read someone's cards, do they have to be there? Is that something that's easy to do online?
Yeah, we should talk about maybe doing it later in the show.
Yeah,
sure.
I'd like to do, if we can, before we wrap it up tonight, maybe do some.
But we need to come up with a dilemma that's safe to talk about, I think.
What's a dilemma? We need a dilemma? What dilemma?
Yeah.
Why do we need a dilemma?
For him to read the cards.
Like why the show has little support? Is that a dilemma?
No, but imagine if you were thinking of, I don't know, reaching out to a sponsor. Should we find a sponsor or not? That would be a good question. Well, I'm just making something up.
Well, it was like,
imagine you got two girlfriends. You got Betty and Susie. So who should I marry, Betty or Susie? That could be a dilemma.
Oh, I see. So it has to be like a fork, ideally.
No, I don't think so.
Because it could be three. Could there be three girls?
Oh, if you got three, that's even better.
Okay.
Better for you, I guess.
Better for the magic, better for the tarots though. Then can they handle 3 or 4, or is it best if it's like 1 or 2?
God loves threes. In Russia, they always say God loves threes. So God loves the menage a trois. So it's good.
Just hang on a sec, Robert. I want to just double check something.
Yeah.
I don't think his video is coming through to YouTube, is it?
No.
That's because we called from the other computer. Darren's just going to try to troubleshoot this live while we keep talking, Robert.
No problem.
So what I was interested in as well is this seems to be to me like the original, like the original tarot.
Oh yeah, you mean about the history of the tarot? No, the tarot that I use primarily in the film is the Rider-Waite deck. That's from 1909.
Okay.
The original tarot would be, I guess you could call it the Visconti Sforza deck that's the one that's about 1430, 1440. So yeah, this is a very late. But the Rider-Waite deck is based on the Marseille deck, which would be the 17th century.
Right. Okay. So it goes way back. It goes like a few hundred years back when this was, happening. So what about nowadays when there's all this, like, everybody's made a tarot deck on everything, right? Oh my God. I mean, and some of them are pretty cool. Like I had like a sacred geometry kind of one. And then there's, I have another like Mary Magdalene style one. Like, is it the same principle, like divination and a work at some level, no matter what, or is there something special about this sort of original deck?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as far as strictly as far as divination goes, anything would work. I mean, my grandmother used to do divination with a cup of tea.
Yeah, you could use a pendulum, right? I mean, you can do whatever to find your way.
And when people talk about
you mean the pendulum? Sorry. Do you mean the pendulum, like where you hang it over the thing and see what it points to?
Yeah, you can turn it, it'll spin yes or no, like you calibrate it, and then you can ask questions and it'll actually like spin yes or no. Like you can
just
say,
hold it really still.
Is the grass green? And it'll start spinning right. So it's right is yes.
Right is yes.
And then you can, right? Am I on the right track, Robert, with that?
Yeah, that's the way I've seen it.
Yeah.
And then
you ask it questions and it will actually move around. Or you can, if you hold it like a key to your sternum, and you can force it with your mind to spin left and right and stop and start.
I would like to see that.
We'll do it one day. Yeah.
Okay, I got keys right now.
No, I won't do it with Robert out here, but I'll show you though.
Okay.
So, anyways, yeah. So, what?
So is that when is he or where does I don't know a whole lot about tarot. So what did tarot originally come from? How did that all come to be?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the standard history is that the Mamluks were the rulers of Egypt, or a group in Egypt. So in the 12th or 13th century, they had a playing card deck that would have been basically like 1 to 10, and then 3 court cards. So basically very similar to the decks we use. And that deck was just used for games. So this deck entered Europe, and then in the 15th century, they added on the 22 major arcana to the game. So the trump cards, now I'm not an expert on the gaming part of it, but I understand it's similar to bridge. And I'm not a bridge player, so sorry. But so it was a game. And originally, that's all it was. It began being used for divination probably in the 16th century, 17th century, in that area. And then it became like the divination part of tarot in the 18th and 19th century became really, prominent. So it was a game originally. It was just a game.
So essentially, you could make up your own deck and with whatever symbology you wanted that has meaning and divine your path if you wanted to.
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, think about astrology, right? I mean, Western astrology works. It does. If you go to a good astrologer, it's shocking sometimes.
Yeah.
And I do astrology, but Indian astrology works. Chinese astrology works. I mean, I lived in China, and I remember a Taoist monk using astrology to find the number in the I Ching.
Huh.
And Chinese astrology is very different than Western astrology. So it all works. So the people who say, well, there's one true method, I don't think so. Yeah, so UFO astrology or tarot deck, if you're familiar with the deck and those cards have meaning for you, it'll work.
Huh. Yeah, we had somebody on. She's going to come on again talking about astrology, how the Western isn't correct. Like the Western astrology, like you have to go back to the I think it's the Indian astrology where it's sort of really based on the proper calendar and stuff, or the proper. I don't even know what the term to use.
Yeah, because Vedic astrology is
Vedic
sidereal. It's sidereal, so
yeah.
It's different than tropical astrology. But my point is that when you start saying there's a right way and a wrong way, so
yeah, that's a good point because it could still work, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you go to an astrology conference and you're drinking with some guys at the end of the night and they're legitimate astrologers, they'll tell you, sometimes they'll mess up, or the person will mess up on the date, and they do the reading and it seems to work. So divination is very, very complicated. And there's not a true mathematical formula to figure it out. But I just want to make one thing clear. My film is not about divination. The film is about the meaning in the major arcana, the archetypes. So I kind of stay away from the divination part in the film. Though for people who are interested in divination, you can learn a lot about the meaning of the major arcana. But it's not the point of the film.
Well, let's talk a bit about the deeper meanings then to it, because it is pretty interesting. I mean, the archetypes, and sometimes it seems subjective to me, but sometimes it really clicks and rings a bell as well. So can you talk about maybe some of the more significant, deeper meanings?
Yeah, so there's 22 cards in what we call the major arcana. The 0 card is the Fool. Now, the 0 card is the person taking the spiritual journey. And I base a lot of this on Campbell's work. Mm-hmm. So the whole idea of the hero's journey
and all that, yeah. I love that.
And you'll see that in the cards. So if you start, that's why it's called the 21 Faces of God. If you see in the film, a lot of times I put the Fool in the middle and the other cards around him. He's reflected in the other cards, and the other cards are reflected in him, no? The first 7 cards would be the material level. So, you start with the magician. The magician breaks the Fool up into the 4 elements. The high priestess, the empress, the emperor, right? And then they're put back together in the lovers, and he begins his journey on the chariot, which would be that Plato's myth of the chariot, the 2 horses,
Yep.
Then we go from strength to temperance. That would be the psychic level. And it's in that level where you get that really interesting set of cards, which are the hangman. You know that the hangman, he's upside down.
Mm-hmm.
What's the meaning of that card? That's the card when a person begins to wake up. To see, everything isn't like you thought it was. the dogma you had as a child, religious dogma, political dogma, whatever. It's not what you thought it was. And that card has a really interesting history because that card was those were in Renaissance Italy, those were shaming paintings. So when you wanted to shame a politician, they would draw a picture of them hung upside down. So it's like there's almost a shame. I bet you guys have felt that. No, sometimes when you start to realize things, you almost feel ashamed. No.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, like in a conspiracy level, you're like, that can't be true. But then you say, well, my mind says it's true, but you don't want to believe it.
Yeah. Because because it sort of changes everything. I mean, the implications on some of these things are really huge. So yeah, I can see that.
Oh yeah.
And then does temperance come after that because afterwards you need that temperance, or?
Well, after that card comes death.
Oh, ooh.
Ouch.
Now the death card in the major arcana is not, and it's not a physical death. It's the death of that old self. You know?
Yeah.
And that's why I used in the film there, I don't speak. In the Hangman and Death, I just use images and music because it's in the Hangman, it's that wow. It's almost like, have you guys ever done like DMT or ayahuasca or anything like that?
Not quite yet. Close.
Acid and mushrooms, if that counts.
Yeah.
Okay. But, you know, for example, a real spiritual psilocybin trip give you that. You're never the same after it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never quite the same. That's the Hangman. And that having to say goodbye to the old world, that's death. And then, like you said, temperance comes after that. Then you've got to find the balance.
Okay.
Because you guys deal with a lot of people who are kind of in that mode of awakening, no?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. They've had some kind of synchronicity. They've switched their paths. They've had a download, whatever, a near-death experience. I mean, more and more of our guests have had something like that happen that has like just rocketed them on their path forward after that death card, like, you know, after that cycle probably.
And listeners, tons of listeners emailing in all the time. And
Now, the Jungians have a great term. They call it inflation. So when you kind of touch that higher self, you kind of pull back the curtain, you become inflated. And I bet you see this with a lot of guests. They feel like they know everything. They start talking about things that they haven't a bleeping idea about. That's the inflation. You feel you are what you looked at, and it's not true. And that's when you need temperance to bring you back to earth, to balance you out.
Okay.
You know, if you have a deep spiritual experience, it doesn't mean you understand macroeconomics. No.
So it's kind of like hubris, or
yes, exactly. That's exactly it.
So what's after that?
And then we get to the devil. And the devil is what's got its hooks in you. That's where the ego's still kind of holding on to you really tight. And we all have our devils, right? In the film, I use Nobody's Fault But Mine. You know, the Zeppelin song, Nobody's Fault But Mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I found a cover of it that I could use.
I don't know that song. Fuck.
That's before Darren's generation.
You okay over there?
I got a sore throat. It's starting to bug me. It's okay.
Tough day at the office.
And anyway, so that the devil is what the last hooks that the ego's got in you. It's the angry Buddha in Buddhism, no? And then finally you get to the tower where everything collapses. All the dogma, the beliefs, everything that you held so dear, it's all gone. For example, I use Fight Club. And remember that last scene of Fight Club where all the buildings collapse?
He shoots himself in the head?
Right after that. Remember, he's holding hands, and you see all the buildings collapse?
Yeah, all bleeding out his neck and shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's when everything you believed is gone. That's where you kill the Buddha. You know that idea of when you see the Buddha kill him? That what represented truth you've got to eliminate, and you've got to actually touch it.
I didn't know you were supposed to kill the Buddha if you seen him. That's a new thing to me.
Oh, yeah. That
seems counterintuitive. Really?
Yeah.
Did you know that, Graham? You have to kill the Buddha?
No, I didn't know that.
Huh.
whip out your sword and chop them up.
Really?
Yeah, it's
You're supposed to kill suffering. It's probably because that's like the devil and the ego could be suffering, right? So maybe that's the symbol is killing the suffering. No,
Gotcha.
could it be? No,
but it's also killing the dogma. It's like,
okay, yeah.
Imagine you're really religious and you say, well, Jesus was born, died, the Apostles' Creed and all that. But there comes a point where, the physical Jesus really isn't that important. There's something, it's a higher plane.
The Christ consciousness.
Exactly. So you got to kill that old belief in the physical Jesus. No?
Okay, yeah.
And not to make it too long, then you get the star, you get the star, then the moon, then the sun. Finally, judgment is the apocalypse. Time, everything's finished, and then the world, you've made it. No, I've reached that. That's the basic path.
That's interesting.
So could you feasibly could you just whip up if you had like a regular deck of cards? Can you do sort of stuff with that?
Oh, sure. There's actually a form of divination with regular cards. I don't know how to do it. I don't do it. But there are people who know how to do that. And each card has a meaning.
So if we were to give you a dilemma, maybe one at a time or maybe both of us together, could you do like a team reading for us? If we came up with a dilemma, then would we have to voice it to you or would we just keep it to ourselves? How does that work?
Now, I've had people come to me with like serious problems.
Yeah.
Like maybe criminal stuff or just stuff that they're very just not. And they'll just give me a real basic outline. And they are very little outline at all. Say, look, I'm stuck between two things, and I do the reading.
Okay.
But just be careful with one thing because you never know what the cards are going to tell you.
Yeah, but we could get into more detail. That's okay as well.
Yeah, you could go into as much detail as you want, or you could leave it. But the one thing though with divination, it works best when you're really stuck. If it's just kind of a bullshit thing, should I buy a bicycle or a moped? But when you're really stuck. It seems everything just seems to flow. Like in China with the I Ching, they say the I Ching should be your last resort. After you've asked all the people you can ask, after you're just banging your head against the wall, then use the oracle.
That's interesting.
Do you have one of those, Graham?
A stuck dilemma? Well, I mean, kind of. I don't think we should talk about it on the show. I mean, like that.
Can he encode his dilemma in a different problem?
Yeah.
So that
absolutely.
Can he say should I eat meat, and actually mean in his head something completely different?
As long as you keep it straight, no problem. Just don't don't turn it into a joke.
No. Can we do both? Can we do both of ours? Can we do both together? Sure. Do we have a team dilemma that we could honestly think of right now?
No.
You want to move, right?
Yeah.
You want to move to the country.
Yeah.
But you're kind of already decided. It's not a dilemma because you already want to do it. You're going to do it.
Yeah.
At some point, right? It's just when. Right?
Yes. Exactly. Let's do yours.
Okay.
Let's do Graham's.
Okay.
How are you going to phrase it? Yeah, get your cards.
Thanks, Robert. Let's just do this.
Yeah, this would be great. You don't mind, do you?
Now, one thing, you guys are live, right?
Yeah, we're live.
So I was just saying, I could move the camera so you could see the cards, but it would take me like 5
minutes. Oh, yeah, no, that's okay.
You want to just do...
Yeah, you can just
do the reading.
Yeah, and you can hold them up if you want. You can, when it comes to a significant thing, you just hold it up to the camera, yeah.
The only thing is, I can't see my picture, but anyway, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Where your hand was just there was dead center.
Yeah, sorry for the
dead air Dunlop.
I get these tickles
in my
chest and my throat. And,
all tickled up. Yeah. It's too bad, really. I don't think I've ever got. Well, Lisa does my cards sometimes. I got 2 decks. I've been sort of meaning to play around with it, but it's like what Robert's about to do here. I find to be almost for me, it would be almost impossible to do. If somebody was to read your. What deck are you using, Robert?
I use the Rider-Waite deck.
The what? The Rider-Waite deck. It's the one from 1909, and that has 52 cards in it. No. Have you been
78?
78, sorry. It would have been cooler if it was 72.
No, it's 56 and 22, right? Is the 56 is the regular playing cards
52.
with the jokers, right?
There's
Is that why it's
there's not
56?
four jokers? Are you counting on the
56
other
cards.
card they put in there that says what the
times
poker
four.
hands are
13
worth? Are we
times four.
counting that card?
13 times 4. 13
It's
times 4, right?
52. Yeah, just like
52.
weeks.
Well, how is it 56 on the minor cards the same as the playing cards then? Because there's 4 jokers, right?
Well, because hold on, you get Jack. Oh, now I'm getting it. You get Jack, Queen, King, right?
Yeah.
So you got 1 to 10, Jack, King, Queen. But with the tarot, you go 1 to 10, but then you have 4 court cards.
Okay, yeah.
You have the page, the knight, Queen, and King. Yeah.
Oh, it adds an extra, like a prince.
Exactly.
They should have added a princess so that they could have evened up the sexes. You know, if
the
they were doing
the page is considered feminine.
Okay, I was gonna say they would change that today.
Yeah.
Be equal. Has to be equal, Robert.
So what I want you guys to do is think about I'm shuffling the card. You can see this, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm shuffling the cards.
Okay.
And what you guys want to do is think about your question.
Okay. Question.
Think about the dilemma.
Okay, I don't have to say the whole question, right? I can
No.
because I'm going to couch it like so Darren wants to move out east a little bit into the sort of the farmer lands, kind of get out of the city.
The bush.
That's the plan, and I'm debating what to do in that regard. Move, stay kind of thing. So, do I want to be in the city or not? That kind of thing. So that would be like the question is,
should I stay or should I go now?
Right. Should I stay or should I go? Now, what I'd like to do is intuitively, where's your kind of gut telling you? Should you stay or should you go?
I knew this was going to get
My
deep.
gut's telling me I should go.
Mine is too eventually, but it's the when that's not.
All right. So
not
let's
clear.
ask the cards. What'll happen if you go?
Death
Okay.
card.
I've already been through death.
Oh, we're not allowed to joke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
No. You could. I just mean like
the question can't be a joke.
Oh no, the question was not a joke.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So we'll ask about you going. Okay.
Okay.
If I go, there will be trouble.
And one of the reasons I don't do open readings a lot, I mean, I'll do sometimes, but not a lot, is, for example, people have health. I won't do health questions.
Oh, that's okay
Because
though. I can.
But you understand what I mean? You don't want to imagine if someone asks me an open question and they get a horrible reading and it's something they've already decided to do. It can really mess with their head. So what I don't want to do is mess with someone's head when I'm doing a reading.
Yeah, that's good. Good.
You're about to fuck with Graham's shit.
All right.
If the death card comes up here, that's it. He's just going to be a mess for the rest of the week.
He's just going to get evaporated. All right, you guys ready? Shall I stop shuffling?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. So now what I do is I'm going to pick the first king, okay? So let me find the first king, and that will be you, okay?
Both of us?
So when we do, yeah, okay, it'll have to be for both of you. I don't think I've ever done a reading for 2 people before.
Nice.
This might be.
Can it be? That means we're going to get the same reading, though. Is that a good thing? Should we do them separate?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's got to be, the question's got to be, connected. I can't get like 2 readings.
Let's do it double. Well, that's fine.
Well, it's the same question.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, if it's the same question, then. Okay, so.
But what if we have different answers?
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got the King of Swords. Okay, can you see that?
Oh, I like that. That's a good start. Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, that's perfect placement.
All right. So remember, when we have swords, right? Pentacles, cups, and wands.
Okay.
Those are the 4 functions. Are you familiar with the Jungian idea of the 4 functions?
A little bit. Yeah.
Thinking, feeling, sensitive. You know the Myers-Briggs.
Yep. The INFTP and all that kind of stuff.
I'm an INFP.
That's all based on Jung.
Yeah.
Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
And Jung based it on the elements.
Okay.
So it really is connected. Okay. So use your mind. Swords, okay? Swords is air. Use your mind for this. It's a mental decision.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
All right, now I got to cut the deck. So I'm just going to move my fingers up the deck, and you tell me when to stop. Right?
Stop.
That was quick.
That's what she said.
Okay, hold on 1 second. This thing over here. Okay, so the significator is you, right? You're the King of Swords. Now, what covers you? Okay.
Okay.
Now, what the spread I'm doing is the classic Celtic cross. All right.
Okay.
So, what covers you? This is the card.
A little bit higher.
Higher.
A little bit higher. A little bit higher.
Higher.
There. Okay. A little bit higher. There you go. Perfect. Okay. Ooh.
Okay, good. Okay.
That's interesting.
Good.
Wow.
Right. So that's the Four of Cups. So what this card usually signifies is you're not satisfied. There's 3 cups, but you're dreaming of the 4th. It's kind of like you're not happy with what you have. You want what maybe you could get. No?
Yep. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So it's a little bit about not being satisfied with what you have now.
Okay.
It's not enough.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. But not necessarily in a positive way. Okay. What's crossing you? So what's stopping you from getting that
Down a
4th
bit.
cup?
Down a bit. Yeah. Down a bit. Yeah. There we go.
Perfect.
Oh.
See it?
Yeah.
Money. So I'm sorry. Not money. This is, the 3 of Pentacles. This is about beginning a project. You see how they're beginning a project?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever about moving, the idea of moving, it seems like something that you're beginning may be stopping you from moving. Because you see how they're all 3 there watching that project begin?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's an Earth project. No, it's Pentacles. It's Earth. So it seems like there's something going on that you're beginning that's kind of an obstacle for you to move to the country.
Okay. That makes sense as well. Do I tell you if it makes sense or does it matter?
Well, because you can't really, because it's all kind of coded, probably, just you tell me at the end if it makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, now, the origin of the question, okay? This is judgment. You see this card?
Yep.
Yeah. Now, this is a major arcana. The other 2 cards were minor. This is major, okay? This question has something to do with something that was hidden, but something important that was hidden that you realized, a revelation.
Okay.
Something that was hidden in the closet, okay?
Okay.
Now, this is the distant future. You got the Ace of Cups, okay?
Okay.
So what the cards are saying is, and it's nice too, because emotionally moving to the country is going to be something that's really the beginning of something very emotionally beautiful.
Okay.
So long term, it looks good. In the recent past, recent past, you got the Empress.
Wow.
Now the Empress, you can think of it. It could be something related to love or beauty, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a girly involved in this story. But I don't know.
Okay.
Or something related to beauty, to love, but on a very deep level, not on a trivial level.
Okay. And that was now again, let's just recap the Ace of Cups was the long-term future.
Long-term future,
and emotionally beautiful, like the beginning of something emotionally beautiful or whatever. The Empress and the Ace of Cups and the Empress both aren't major, right?
No, the Empress is major.
Oh, it is major.
She's
okay.
Venus.
Okay. And
think
then
about Venus, the goddess of love, beauty.
Okay, and that's and that was where I came from?
Recent past.
Okay.
Something in the recent past related to this question.
Okay, yep.
Now, in the near future, you've got the 7 of Cups, okay?
Okay.
Now, this card is a little bit about illusion. You might have a little bit of illusion, fantasy about what's coming in the near future, okay?
Okay.
So just be careful with that.
Okay.
Now, so we've made the cross, okay? Now we're making the staff. How will you feel in the country? Okay.
Page of
Young
Swords.
and feisty. Yeah. So this is, think about on a thinking level, kind of young, intellectually, kind of something new ideas. Yeah, I mean, the Page of Swords it can be, if in this sense, it's not a person, no?
Okay.
I mean, are you going to move to the country? Is there a girl in the country or?
A girl would move with me.
Okay.
And me.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
Page of Swords, that makes sense. I mean, young and feisty, new ideas, all that. Yeah, it would be starting fresh, kind of like at some point, at some level.
Young and feisty,
But
Graham. Your young and feisty days are over, bro.
No, they're not.
But this is not the girl. Remember, this is you. So this is how you feel. It's not the person with you.
Oh yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Ah, very nice. Now, how will others see you? Okay.
Not young
Three
and
of Cups.
feisty.
More
The Three of
cups. Lots of
Cups.
cups going on.
A lot of emotion in this. A
Yeah.
lot of emotion.
Cup flush.
That's a really nice card. So people will see you as being happy, joyful. No, it's a good card. It's a nice card. A lot of emotion. It's in a good sense. No harmony. The harmony of three. It's a nice card. Now, this card you should pay a lot of attention to. This is the advice card.
Oh, okay.
So this card means, very nice. You got a major arcana here. You got temperance.
Temperance.
This is really good. So what this is telling you is pay attention to that balance. Okay. Remember, temperance, you see how she has 1 foot in water and 1 on earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to pay attention. Be careful with the hubris, the inflation. Stay balanced. Stay grounded. Okay. And then the final card is Knight of Pentacles. Good.
Pentacle.
Yeah.
That's
Pentacles is earth.
two pentacles and lots of cups. That's interesting.
Pentacle cup.
So what does the final card mean?
Yeah, the final card. That's that would be the sort of the final resolution.
Okay.
The Knight of Pentacles is of the 4 knights. He's the slowest.
Oh boy.
It's Earth. Okay, it's Earth. So it's actually a really nice card. I think for an idea of moving someplace, you'll be stable, you'll be grounded, and that's a good card. That's a really nice card. And combining it with the long term, which is
A cup.
The Ace of Cups.
The Ace of Cups. You're going to have, I think the cards say it's a very good decision. The only thing is, be careful with wanting too much in the sense of, are you wanting something just because you want the new iPhone?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The illusion. Yeah, be careful of the illusion.
Be a little bit careful with the illusion. And it seems like there's some project that you're beginning, something you're beginning that might cause a problem with you making this move.
Yeah.
But other than that, and what's very interesting about what's interesting about this reading is the origin of it. It's almost like you found something pretty powerful, and that's what kind of pushed you to move to the country.
Yeah, that makes sense for both of us, I would say.
Probably a little probably a little slanted or some of the answers are one way or the other, Certain cards are for each of us.
I would say that's a pretty amazing reading, really. It's very interesting. Cry? No, I'm not going to cry.
Okay.
But did it resonate?
Oh, very much. Very much so. Yeah.
Because I just have it clear. This is all code, right? This is code for something else. Moving to the country.
Actually, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. We just said fuck it.
Oh, okay.
We're terrible.
Oh, okay.
It's a little code. It's a little bit. Like it's not. It's a bit code. But it's
okay.
Yeah.
No peaches involved.
So, any questions before I put them back about the reading?
No, I think that
No, I mean,
honestly, I think that's really it's very interesting, and it makes it does resonate. It makes sense too, and it's also very optimistic and positive. You know, it does. It's good, yeah. Like that's the way I would feel. That's the way I kind of would feel about it.
Is it?
Yeah, if that were to happen.
Do you have any more questions?
Me?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I can't think of any either.
Yeah, I usually only do one reading for a person for every 3 months or so.
Yeah,
it's not something you should do much.
That makes
do
sense.
Too much, like masturbating.
What about those little, like, you know, in the new decks you get, there's like 3 or 4 different readings, and sometimes it's like 1 card, 3 card, 5 card, or whatever. Is there little mini readings you do at all? Like,
I only use the Celtic Cross because
Okay.
I've been doing it. Because think about it this way: there's 78 cards, there's 10 positions,
Mhm.
so there's about like 6 million different combinations.
Yeah.
And so to get familiar, plus the question, right? So to get it's to be able to kind of weave out a narrative from a reading, it's not so easy.
Yeah. No,
This reading was
good.
relatively it was pretty
It
good.
was pretty fluid. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. It wasn't. I wasn't battling a lot.
Yeah.
So is that cross like 5 cards up and 5 cards across?
Well, it would actually be, there's 2 cards on top of each other, right?
Oh, okay.
And then you've got 4 cards around that make the cross. And then you have the staff of 4 cards. So it's 10 cards.
And that's the Velvet Cross?
Celtic
Cross. Oh, I can picture that now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got it. Like the Irish one. So is that, I guess that's, I wonder if that's like, I wonder how that's tied in with like astrology and precognition and all those sorts of things. Like, do you think that's all? Do you think the tarot is pulling into that same sort of thing? Like into the, like we kind of joke of it being, that's what the Akashic Record sort of is this weird sort of common consciousness where all the answers to everything are?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's not a simple one because of the 22 major arcana, when we interpret them, so when people talk about the meaning of the cards, very typically we say there are 12. I won't go through all the meanings, but there are 12 cards are associated with the signs of the zodiac. 7 of the cards are the 7 classical planets, and you have 3 of the 4 classical elements. Okay, you have fire, water, and air, and earth is the querent, the person asking the question.
Huh.
Now, I just want to make one thing clear. Do I think that when whoever created the first set of major arcana were thinking of this? Absolutely not. But these archetypes, these are like Platonic ideals. They just keep emerging. And there's a problem when you talk to a lot of people with tarot. They say, oh, it comes from Egypt, or it comes from the Kabbalah. No, the tarot does not come from the Kabbalah, and it does not come from Egypt. Tarot emerged in Renaissance Italy, and they represent the archetypes of that time. But the thing is, if you push back into the archetypes, they all meet. You know, the archetype of for example, the Virgin becomes a fertility goddess. This goes back and back and back. So there is a certain materialism that you'll find in people when they talk about the cards. Well, they came from, the pharaoh or from Nefertiti or something. Because if it does, it's like a Christian who says, if Jesus didn't live, then the whole thing collapses. Well, is that really true? I mean, can you be a Christian without having to believe
in the guy,
in the dogma of, born on the 3rd day, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
no, the Apostles' Creed. Can you be a Christian without believing the Apostles' Creed?
Isn't it the 25th day? Anyway, I think you can. I think you should. Yeah. Because
so do I.
Yeah, the more shows we do and everything, it really seems like that's all sort of based on old mythology or maybe even astrology, and it's all what's the word I'm looking for? Allegory.
Yeah, it's all connected.
So when you did the process of you picking the cards there, so you asked us at I think it was the beginning with the King of Swords, I believe it was like, you tell me when to stop, and then Darren said right away, like, stop, and then how do you do how do you choose the rest of the cards from there on?
Oh, I just take them from the top.
Take them from the top. Okay.
Yeah.
So you shuffle.
The only card I look for is the significator. I look for the first king. That's you.
The King of Swords is me, and then
I cut the deck. Then I cut the deck.
Yeah.
In 3, that's why I did the thing about the fingers, and then I just from the top.
Oh, okay. That was the cut the deck. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. No, I thought that was great.
There you go.
Yeah. I had another question about in general, but now I can't remember.
What were the 4 face cards? There's the king.
You mean in your reading or in?
No, just in general.
Ah, right. So you have the king and the queen, okay, masculine and feminine, and then you get the knight in the page. The knight is masculine. The page is generally feminine. So you get 4 court cards.
Okay. I was trying to relate it to that because I just read a book, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, and I was wondering, because that's all based on Jungian archetypes as well, I believe.
Okay. Who wrote that book?
Shit. I'll find out.
That's okay. In the film, I talk a lot about Jung, a lot, and also Joseph Campbell. And there's a wonderful talk Campbell gives on the Grail myth. And in the question and answer section, it's not on the internet. You can't find it. I don't know where I found it. I think I found it on some weird Joseph Campbell torrent. But he starts to talk about the cards. It's pretty interesting to get his take on the major arcana. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And I use some of that in the film.
I have a take on the hero's journey, like that. The attractiveness of it is, let's say you're Frodo and you've got to save the world.
God.
What?
So he's Frodo. But
I mean, the way it's that you're in the moment. Like, you have to be present, and you have to be like, everything is on the line. Life has the most meaning ever because everything depends on your actions, your decisions, your character. It's all there, and you have to be right there in the moment. It's like the most present you would ever be as if the world is on your shoulders. I feel like that's the attractiveness of it. Like, that's like the feeling of if we got into some, like, that's what we don't have in society, in this Western society anymore, is everything being on the line. I mean, of course you do. Yeah, you're homeless and you go through all kinds of problems. Like, that's happening, but not at a grand scale like it used to be. Like, if you're in the middle of a war or whatever, and it's like, you're in the trenches and that's all that's going on right now. You're not worried about all this other little bullshit.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, for example, I've lived in a lot of countries. And what I've learned from for example, when you live abroad and in many different cultures and different places and work there, what you learn is you really don't learn about I mean, I lived in China for 1.5 years. Now I taught at a university there. What do I know about China? You don't learn. I mean, you're not going to learn Chinese culture in 1.5 years, but you do learn so much about our own culture, no? And that's like a little bit what you talk about, that pressure on you to snap out of your dogma, your beliefs. And it's hard to do. I think it's a little bit hard to do if you follow the path that society sets out for you. Like Terence McKenna, when Terence McKenna talks about culture is not your friend, that's what he's talking about.
That's good to clarify that. I think people are misinterpreting that a lot now.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, I think they're simplifying it to
culture in general.
Forget culture, like let's say
like a mix mash of everything.
Yeah, like the Italian culture that created this tarot. Like, forget that. It should just be one mixed global culture of the utmost, ethical variety. Like that, that culture is inevitably leading you to a dark path, kind of thing. But I don't buy that. I'd rather use your definition of what Terence means in that. Yeah,
that's completely, that's total BS. And also, you need that. you it's like when you any sport you've ever played, anything you've learned, you've got to follow those rules. You've got to master them. And once you've mastered them, then you can kind of move beyond them. No?
Yeah.
But that culture, what culture does, you kind of need. It's like I was raised in a very strict, sort of religious, very Catholic family and all that. And while right now, when I look at the Catholic Church, I don't know if you've read that article I wrote on zombies.
No.
But
No.
the whole zombie meme, I look at like we as a society, we consume, but we're never full. And the only way to get rid of the zombie is to hit him in the head, to put the bullet through his head. No?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, shit. As an altar boy, I never forget as an altar boy sitting there watching the mass thinking, this is kind of creepy, I mean, are we really eating this guy and drinking his blood? I always found it a little creepy. And now I find it incredibly creepy. And I think, oh my God, that's, the mass is like a zombie movie. You know what I mean? That culture, but to get to that realization, I had to be a Catholic.
Yeah, but does that have to be part of the culture? I mean, that would be one of the negative things that people would say that you have to go through, because of our culture, because of the, narrow-mindedness, or because of the dogma in our culture. So you woke up from it, but how many people didn't?
But if you don't know dogma, what you're going to do is you're going to find another dogma.
Yeah.
Like take the social justice warrior type.
Oh boy.
They are so desperate for a structure. And that's why they're so afraid of any kind of opposing ideas. They need an authoritarian structure. And they haven't found it in our culture. So they find it in this idea of we're going to reform society. But it's incredibly dogmatic. Oh
yeah,
my God,
it's incredibly forceful too. Because what happened to the freedom that we all supposedly wanted?
Oh, right.
Exactly. What about freedom? They're terrified of freedom because that
freedom means responsibility. That's why.
Yeah, John le Carre, the spy novelist, the English spy novelist.
No, the name sounds
the spy who came in from the cold, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
He had a great line in it. They were talking about they caught somebody and they were pulling out his nails, and he wouldn't give in. He was a true fanatic, and at the root of all fanaticism is a doubt. So when you meet a fanatic, you know that there's a doubt, because if you don't have a doubt, why would you become fanatical? And you see that in a lot of young people today because they're looking for something to hold on to. They're looking for a dogma. So you can't escape it. You can't. It's a part of that journey of the hero. First, they dump all this stuff on you, and then you gradually, hopefully, remove it.
There you have it.
Yeah, that's good. So let's switch gears a little bit to some of your other work. You were talking about, some of your books and some of the other stuff you're interested in.
Yeah, I guess I've written a lot about finance too, about money. What is money?
Oh, that's a tricky
and
subject.
That was something that that was probably I worked in a bank. Actually, I did the marketing in a bank, and so I was getting new customers.
Wow.
And
getting new customers to create money out of thin air for them?
No, let me just tell you the story quickly because it's how I kind of began to. So I'm in a bank. We're selling €3,000 consumer loans, but I'm spending on the marketing side 600 euros to sell one loan. No, to get in marketing to get one loan.
Yeah.
So I asked my boss, I said, so we're breaking even. What, like 15, 16 months? This doesn't make sense. This business model is just, oh yeah. Eventually, then I was in a training with BNP, which is a big French bank. And I was asking about their mortgages. I'm like, I know what your marketing cost is. How are you making money on these mortgages? Oh, it's a loss leader. And then I knew something was wrong because there's no way BNP is losing money on all their mortgages. So when I understood what money was, everything it was like a house of cards. It just began to just collapse. And getting back to the card, the hangman, for about 3 months, I didn't believe it. I said, this can't be true. It can't be that they're just making money out of, promissory.
Yeah, rolling it over 9 or 10 times and charging interest. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And that's that moment of the hangman where you say, could I have studied history? I was a history major. I have a like basically an MBA. I worked at a bank and I didn't know how money was made.
Yeah.
This can't be. It can't be.
No. And then it cracks the whole world open, right? Then it changes their whole global. Yeah.
Can you give our listeners, most of them already know, but can you give our listeners a quick rundown of how money's made?
Yeah, sure. I think first it's important to define money because a lot of people can't really define it. Because if you go to Wikipedia, it'll say, well, it's a store of value, right? It's a means of exchange. But what really is money? And I can give you an example.
The root of all evil?
Yeah.
A good time? No. But imagine if I say to you, I've got 10 kilos of gold I want to sell you for a really good price. Now imagine the price is just great. And you say, okay. I say, well, meet tomorrow, bring me the suitcase, and I'll sell you the gold. So we meet, and there's a big mountain behind me. You've got your suitcase of money, and you say, where's the gold? And I point to the mountain. I say, the gold's somewhere in that mountain. You're not going to give me that money, are you?
No.
I might give you the money.
Right. So what's the difference between me pointing to the mountain and me giving you the gold? The difference is the work. So you got to remember, money equals work. That's what it is. It's work. It's nothing else. So when we say gold is money, gold isn't money. The work that it takes to go and get an ounce of gold, that's money. It's an important difference because a lot of people get confused in that. Gold is not money. It's the work it takes to get the gold, right? You follow me?
Yeah, that's right. I guess that's the same as even like when you start mining asteroids, you have to think of all the work that went into building all the infrastructure and the vehicles and everything that has to get out there. It's labor is the most expensive thing. And even the raw materials you're buying are really labor.
Yeah, but that's not really But that's not really money. I mean, gold is worth money right now, but the day that you made the deal might be different than the day you went and exchanged it. So
money is energy.
Okay, you could say it's energy, but it really, I think from a human level, it's human labor. It's what, even if you go to Las Vegas and you make $1 million in a weekend, you're gambling to earn that money.
Okay, but isn't that more of like what money's supposed to be? Not what it is right now. I mean, if you sold a $3,000 consumer loan to somebody that you guys just typed up in a digital currency and created it out of thin air, how did the work come into that at all?
That's a lot of typing. Took them like 10 minutes.
But that's the difference. That's the difference. Bank money isn't real money. So think about it this way. If you go to get a mortgage, right? You sign a promissory note. I will pay $100,000 back in 10 years. And on the other side of the ledger, that's the debit. On the other side of the ledger, the bank creates the money. How does that money get destroyed? As you pay that mortgage off, that money gets destroyed. So in 10 years, if you pay it on time, the money's destroyed. They rip up the promissory note. $100,000 was created and $100,000 was destroyed. That money that the bank creates is not the same money that you go out and earn. It's not apples to apples. And that's where the problem is.
And they don't destroy it, do they? I mean, it comes back in and then it goes back out 9 or 10 times, doesn't it?
No, when you pay back that mortgage, that money is destroyed.
Huh.
That's how money's created. So that's why debt creates money. And when everyone pays off their debts,
that's what right? It crashes. Yeah.
Money, the supply goes down, right?
So then the money is just the money being created out of thin air is just the interest?
No, the interest is not created out of thin air. The interest, you got to go out and work for it.
It's still created the money's still created out of thin air. It's just paid back.
Right, but the interest is created from another debt that was created.
Right.
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 It's not created in that loan.
So how's the bank making money? Oh, because they're gambling your money on other stuff.
No, because with the bank, remember the bank can create 10 times its reserves, right?
Right.
So if the bank has, so let's just say the bank has $100 on reserve, they can create 1,000. So they create 1,000, they make 10% on it. So 10% of 1,000, or 10%, say 10% of 100 is 10. So on their reserve, they've made 100%. So the banks make about 100% on their reserves.
Could they just pull out the $1,000 and put it in the reserves and create 10,000?
Pull out the 1,000. The money on reserve is what they can multiply to create.
So, but when you pay off your mortgage that you're talking about, like that $100,000 mortgage, when you pay $1,000 a month, let's say, on it, now they have that 1,000 in cash, and now they use that as a reserve, so they get 10 times on that. Then,
no, because remember, when they create that money from the mortgage, they give it to you, and you buy the house.
Yeah, but I'm putting it back. I'm sending it back to them.
It only works if you give it to the mortgager, I think. Yeah. That's the deal.
Now, if you did something shady with the bank and you said, I'm going to buy, for example, I'm going to buy a used car with 10 grand. You take that 10 grand, you put it back in the bank, right? Deposits can be used as reserve. So then,
right. Okay. Yeah,
if you did something like that.
Yeah.
And then you could say, give me 20% of that 100 grand you're going to get. Ooh. Do you know any banks that are shady?
I'd like to open a bank.
I could see a money-making venture here.
Oh yeah.
So well, you got a bit of an anarchist in you. So what do you see as a bit of a solution to this then? Like, do you there's a couple banks in the States that are in which state is it? Montana or something like that are sort of public banks.
Oregon, maybe?
Yeah, Oregon, maybe. Seem to be doing good work as far as not following the whole debt-based system.
Because because basically all the money you see in the world that we use, those are claims on future labor. That's work that will be done in the future. Now, if banks just became money exchangers, so imagine I put $1 million in the bank, and the bank gave me 2% and lent the money for 8%, and they took a share of it. That, I think, would be a much better way of banking. And there are some economists who've talked about this. Now, should the banks be able to have some multiples to create money? That gets very complicated. But real money, a hard money society. Imagine in 2003 when George W. Bush wanted to start the Iraq War. What if he had to say, all right, folks, we're going to go get Saddam Hussein, and we're going to put a 10% VAT tax on everyone in the U.S. You think that war would have flown? I kind of doubt it. George W. Bush cut taxes and started a war. You can only do that in a fiat money system.
Yeah.
Does fiat mean fake?
Fiat means created by decree. I say it, therefore it is.
Excellent. I need to get that kind of decree.
So what would you... So get a little deeper into the solution then.
Well, I mean, if you made me dictator, what I would immediately do is, for example, what's one really interesting solution?
Going back to the countries create their own currency that aren't through central banks, like based on gold.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be gold. It could be based on oil. It could be based on labor, right?
Okay.
You could say, what our GDP is, but and we don't allow the banks to run this scam.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It should be up to their own sovereign country to do it, right?
And take the financial crisis. The financial crisis was fascinating because the banks, they fucked up big time. They created an enormous amount of paper that was absolutely worthless. And what did the Fed do? The Fed bought it back. QE meant buying back some government bonds, but about $50 billion of mortgage-backed securities a month. So imagine if you make a car that no one wants, and then you call the Fed and say, hey, I can't sell these damn things. Will you guys buy them for me? Sure.
Elon.
That's what the banks did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should call the Fed, get them to buy those cars that keep blowing up. No,
I think he did, didn't he? Those Teslas are pretty highly subsidized.
I'm not sure about that.
So is the blockchain a solution to this then? I mean, when is it going to be, or is that, do you follow that at all?
Yeah, I do actually. And as the fact that it's an alternative form of money. I mean, money can be cigarettes. It can be anything. As long as people trust in it.
Yeah.
Remember, money is the biggest story in the world. The only story that we all believe.
It's agreed upon value of something, right? Really?
Exactly. I mean, you know Yuval Harari, the Israeli historian. He did some TEDx. I don't agree with everything he says, but he does mention something that's interesting. He said the only story in the world that we all believe is the dollar story.
Yeah.
From Saddam Hussein to Bin Laden to whoever, the CIA, we all buy into that story. The moment we stop buying into it, it's going to be horrendous. Horrendous. Because what's going to happen? If people don't trust in money, they're just going to stop producing. Factories are going to stop producing. Farmers are going to stop planting. Fishermen are going to stop fishing. They're going to wait. And when everyone stops and waits, some people are going to go hungry. It's going to be ugly.
Not if you're in the country.
Exactly.
I'll suck your dick for some tomatoes, Farmer Joe.
I've never.
That's what your fantasy is about living in the country. You got nice juicy tomatoes to sell. Fuck.
I was buying the tomatoes in that scenario.
Oh, you were buying the tomatoes, yeah.
Oh, you were buying. Oh, I thought you were.
Jeez, yeah, I know. Jeez, I'm learning new stuff about Darren every day.
I'm not Farmer Joe. I could get in the tomato selling business. I'll get the fish.
So
this trade the fish for the tomatoes,
because they're starting to, now they're saying that some of these coins are going to be, the Bitcoins are going to be, accepted in Starbucks and all these other, and I don't think it necessarily means that, but there's definitely a shift. It seems like lately, last month or two, to, that this is going to become a little bit more mainstream.
Oh yeah. And I mean, the only thing is the volatility in Bitcoin is just, it's still there's way too much volatility in it for the moment. And remember, Bitcoin itself is limited. So on the amount of Bitcoins that can be produced. So I don't think Bitcoin is the solution.
No, I meant,
but it could be part of the solution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As long as it's legitimate.
Well,
as long as it's not somebody just whipping money out of thin air saying, okay, you give me that piece of paper, I get to create $100,000. Yeah. But the $100,000 that you pay me back, you're going to go out and bust your ass for 15 years.
Yeah.
It's the difference. It's not apples for apples.
Yeah.
And when money is apples for apples, it would be a lot different. Like, for example, peer-to-peer lending. There's a lot of rich people who are sitting on money. Why can't they just lend their money? Right?
Yeah.
That would be real money for real money. I made a lot of money. I lend it to you. You pay me 10%.
Why doesn't that happen?
Good question.
I guess it does in the form of like venture capitalism and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. Venture capital.
VC, baby. No?
I don't know, because it's a bit, we rely on listeners' donations here, and we have people that just get booted off of PayPal, for example. I mean, it's really, the infrastructure is pretty shaky right now. I mean, there's Patreon, and I mean, it's not going to take much to shut those two down if they don't want people running their own little businesses. I mean, we're really
then you're
not
back to people mailing you checks.
Yeah, like where does it go from there? If the blockchain doesn't, if a proper peer-to-peer distribution or this blockchain thing doesn't get set up without getting destroyed. But I mean, because the banks must be all over that. I mean, they must see the writing on the wall with that they have to step in and take control, you'd think.
I don't know. Think about it like the way books worked, right? Everyone thought the bookmakers and the newspapers and all those people were going out of business, and they just sort of transitioned.
Well, the newspapers did. I mean, that really did affect
some of them did, and some of them went to I think it's something like, I was reading something the other day that says that the New York Times now is up to like some insane number in subscriptions every year.
Oh wow.
And it's just going
So they
up.
finally jumped on that model and it's working for them.
If they would have been on it in the beginning, they could have really done well, but they're sort of turning it around in a lot of ways.
So long.
Yeah. And maybe, you can see the radio stations kind of trying to do that now. They're all, most radio stations have if they don't have a podcast, they at the very least have an online web player so you can listen anywhere in the world.
Wow.
So that's them trying to transition. I mean, whether or not it'll work remains to be seen.
So that's come back to that whole
stream
subscription
to the world from our fucking basement here.
Yeah. But that's come back to that whole subscription-based model, right? Everybody's doing it. Even who is Microsoft? Did you hear about Microsoft now? So this will be interesting to get your take on this. Apparently, if you're using 7 or 8, I believe, you're okay. But if you upgrade it to 10, from now on, you're going to subscribe and pay monthly.
When did this? I didn't hear about this. When did this come out?
I don't know. Just recently, I think.
Well, I think
so they're
like
trying
Apple
to get the subscription thing too, right?
Apple makes $37 billion a year in subscriptions right now.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
And they're talking about looking at a future where Apple does subscription base where you pay them, I don't know what the numbers are.
How about they loan us
for
money?
now, let's just say it's $100 a month. You pay Apple $100 a month. You get access to Apple Music, Apple TV, all those Apple streaming services. You get the new iPhone whenever it comes out. If your phone breaks, you get a new one to a certain extent, you basically have a subscription instead of buying phones. And I mean, that's kind of the way music has gone. Now I do a Spotify subscription instead of buying CDs. And, it's going to be, I have a Netflix subscription instead of renting movies or buying DVDs.
Well, imagine how much easier that is as a business, right? That you get.
Well, that's just it.
You get all these
exactly
steady
what you're getting, and you get it up front.
I mean, we know about that here, right? Because every month we get a certain amount of donations that helps us actually just schedule what expenses that can go to and plan a little bit.
Look how big Cardigo is getting.
Yeah.
Where you subscribe and you just grab a car downtown.
Oh, that's subscription too?
Yeah. So now they're talking about. I can't remember if it was Hyundai or something like that. Is talking about where you pay a subscription and you get a car. And that subscription, if your car breaks, you go get a different one. And you pay so much a month and you don't worry about this. It includes, maybe you're it includes your gas. It includes fucking everything. And you pay whatever. You pay, say, $700 a month or whatever.
Well,
whatever it turns out to be. But then you've always got this vehicle. And fucking if it breaks, you get a new one and you're not worried about any overhead.
And it's almost like the insurance model where so many people pay and not that many people are going to exceed that payment in expenses. Or whatever.
Exactly.
So we have a car to go here in Calgary. It's like, the little, you have a little app probably and a little card and then you jump in a little mini. It started with the minis, but they must be doing really well, Darren, because...
they're everywhere.
Now there's Mercedes. Now they have Mercedes car to go.
Yeah,
so
those ones cost more probably.
Oh, do they?
Or they use more points.
One question, like, for example, you guys are at home, right? Would they have somebody drive the car out to your house?
No. It's in a certain diameter of a metropolitan city type environment.
That's how it is now. But the book I was reading was saying that it'll be like 30 minutes. Boom, you say you need a car. And, there's cars in your area and they have, I don't know, I think that's they're looking forward at some sort of automation where they just send a car to your house.
But right now I could look at the app.
The self-driving model will be that will be the self-driving model.
Yeah.
People won't own cars. And that'll reduce traffic and parking.
I'll be fucking driving like an asshole still. No blinkers.
I don't think
I'm going to be trying to get one of those Google cars to hit me so I could sue them. So on Google, you go to self-driving, then you're going to be constantly trying to get your cars not to run me over. To the moon.
What do you think about some of that stuff, Robert?
Well, I mean, the self-driving model, then that gets into AI and all that. But yeah, that I think 10, 15 years down the line, people won't own cars. And what I don't like about this subscription model is what they're doing is, like, for example, I toss the smartphone. I don't use it. I have an old dumb phone, and that's it. But at my grocery store, they have some stupid thing where you get like 10% discount on everything, those club things. But you got to have a smartphone to be able to get the discount. So what they're doing is they're locking you into social media, locking you into all that messaging. and all that insanity. So
It's tough.
It's a way to get their hooks in you. And I would plead with people, really stay away as much as you can, especially now.
We do a subscription model here, so let's not.
Oh.
Let's not get too carried away.
But I'm not talking about subscription models. I'm just
Okay.
Social media.
Oh yeah, social media is a fucking. I feel dirty. I start to feel my heartbeat speed up and everything if I spend too much time on social media. I can notice it now.
Huh.
You know where I learned that? I was living in China and I couldn't read the New York Times, so I started reading the Washington Post. And I'd never read the Washington Post before. And I would read the newspaper and get angry, like I wanted to punch somebody. So I looked up the editor, Marty Barron, and I found this talk he was giving. And he's like, yeah, what we started to do is we took the old journalists and stuck them in the same room with these kids doing like these short articles that got lots of comments. And their whole model was to get you angry, get you to comment, get you to engage, spend more time on the site. But that's their goal, is to piss you off and get you engaged in arguments that you don't care about.
That's right.
That's gross.
You got to watch how it's a powerful tool, but you got to really watch how you're using it. Because I mean, the other side of it is without my smartphone and some of this technology, we wouldn't have the option of doing shows like this. Or, I mean, right now I'm able to, kind of run a couple of companies, and in some ways off of a phone, you can be answering emails, from a waiting room,
sending pictures instantly. Like that's the thing. It becomes like a little computer on you that you can use for so many things. I know.
But you remember when people talked about being chipped? The worst thing in the world, I'm going to get chipped. Is it?
They just got you carrying around the chip right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's stuck on their heads.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Be careful with that.
How can we get them to hold the chip?
Facebook knows more about you than you do.
I fucking cut the cord. Fuck Facebook. We have a Facebook page for the show, but not personal ones.
So what would you recommend for this whole money thing for people to watch and learn more about what you're talking about? Like, is there some favorite documentaries that you have, or do you have some blogs other than other blogs and stuff about it?
Yeah, I wrote an article. I mean, I hate to pitch my own. I'm just trying to think.
No, pitch your own stuff.
Pitch your own stuff for sure.
Yeah, I did write an article called "The Moral Hazard of Modern Banking," and it goes through and explains exactly how money is created, and how it's destroyed, and how in the financial crisis, how this all worked in the financial crisis. So it's the moral hazard. I wrote it a ton of years ago, but it was one of those moments where something clicked, and it was pretty popular. It's the moral hazard of modern banking.
Okay.
You got to watch out, though. There's a lot of documentaries that the people have absolutely no idea what they're talking about.
That's kind of why I asked you, because I've seen a few that I thought were really good, and then I hear some criticism about them.
On the show as being schmucks.
I don't want to get in a pissing match with anybody, but just knowing remember we talked about inflation.
Yes.
Because you've had a spiritual enlightenment doesn't mean you understand economics and how money's. It's like it doesn't mean you know how to fix an engine, right?
What about all?
You wouldn't start okay?
What about all Bill Still stuff?
Bill Still.
Yeah, I think it's Bill Still.
You mean the old dude?
That has those old documentaries about.
Oh, I thought you meant the dude on YouTube that talks about politics.
Federal Reserve banking. Well, I think he might have got into politics a little bit as well. But yeah, he did. There was a couple really long documentaries. I think Zeitgeist, back when Zeitgeist came out, and I think his sort of documentaries were around back then.
Well, that's the big one. What do you think about that one?
Well, Zeitgeist, if you go through how what they show about how money's created, it doesn't actually add up. The general idea is correct, but the mechanics are not correct, because they show bonds. They show bonds being created and money, and then the money created to buy the bonds. That's not exactly correct. The creation of bonds is a little bit more complicated, but when you look at it from mortgages, it's very simple. You go in with the piece of paper, the promissory note. That promissory note is future work, right? So in exchange, they create the money, then the money is destroyed. No, the Zeitgeist, the idea was right, But if you look at the actual mechanics, they got it a little mixed up.
Yeah, I think that awoke a lot of people. Though.
Peter Jackson, right?
Yeah.
We've been trying to get him on the show.
No, not Peter Jackson. Peter Joseph.
Peter Joseph.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson's the Hollywood producer, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And there's some cigarettes in Canada called Peter Jackson's as well. Wonder if it's the same guy.
There was a director too, Peter Jackson. I can't remember.
So what else are you interested in these days?
Well, basically what I'm doing now is really trying to get folks to watch the film. It's the 21 Faces of God. And and I think for people who are kind of interested in all things esoteric, because I go into how astrology is connected to the tarot, how alchemy is connected to the tarot. I mean, alchemy, I think, is intimately connected to the tarot, almost more than anything. So I go into a lot of that.
How can you give us a couple examples of that before we?
Yeah.
I can't picture it myself.
So think about alchemy as taking, from a material sense, lead into gold. No.
Yep.
So it's what alchemy does is it accelerates nature. So if our destiny as humans is to become more and more conscious, what alchemy does is it pushes us on that path. And that's why, for example, Carl Jung was fascinated by alchemy, because he saw it as that process of individuation that he talked about, of expanding your consciousness. And so in the deck, when the deck was created, alchemy was very, very important in Renaissance Italy. So I try and connect alchemy into the cards. Like, for example, the magician takes the fool, separates him. There's an alchemic
process
idea in that. Yeah, in that.
But
alchemy is fascinating. Is truly fascinating.
That's making gold out of something,
lead.
Or just making something out of nothing, or something good out of something.
Separating something. I think people, just talk about it being led to gold, but it's more than that. I think it's
right.
The process,
the prima materia, into the philosopher's
stone. The transformation process, kind of thing. Yeah.
The philosopher's stone.
Huh. Interesting.
Is that the stone that helps you understand every language? Oh no, that's the Rosetta Stone.
Right.
So where can what's the YouTube channel and everything like that? Where can our listeners come and watch the documentary? Where can they find more of you? Where can they hassle you if they got a beef?
Oh yeah. What I would love folks to do is you just pop into YouTube, write in the 21 Faces of God, and you'll find the YouTube channel. And if they do like it, I would just ask, because I have no social media presence, zero. So I mean, if they do like it, if they could post it to social media to get some, because I just released it. I had some kinks with the copyright issues, but finally got it out there last week.
Okay, good.
So yeah, if they like it and everything, if they could post it to social media, that would be fantastic.
Like and share.
Remember, there's 27 parts, so you can watch the whole film, or you can watch it in parts, however you like.
Yeah, I was browsing through it today. I like how you separated that all out. It's good. Easy,
there's a lot of
digestible chunks. Yeah, I like the way. Yeah, I like the music in there.
And since you do listen to our show, I'll ask if you have a favorite episode.
Randall Carlson, man, I love that guy.
Always Randall.
He's like my hero.
RC awesome. Baby.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And I go into a lot of the Pythagorean ideas. We won't go into this now, but in the section on archetypes, I go deep into Pythagoras, and Randall Carlson with the sacred geometry, really goes into that too. So if you're into Randall Carlson, I think you would like at least that section on archetypes.
Yeah.
Because I really go deep into it about music, connecting the archetypes to music, number, the tetractys, and all that.
Right on. And then you have your website as well, Cactusland, right? .com.
The Cactusland. And there you can see all my old. You can see my old articles. You can see that article on money. That's from a bunch of years ago, but yeah, there's an article on zombies is there.
Funny money.
TheCactusland.com.
And then what about this tarot seminar?
Yeah, that's something, because I'm not really a tarot reader. I mean, it's not how I make money. I mean, I do tarot readings for people and things, but what I like to do is give physical seminars. So if there are any groups out there who are looking for, a tarot seminar, watch the film. And if you feel like my ideas would resonate, yeah, get in touch with me. Maybe we can work something out.
Yeah, right on.
Excellent. Maybe could you do like a tarot course?
Yeah, I do it's like a 12-hour sort of weekend seminar, but I could expand it. But yeah, basically the seminar I've done it many times, it's a weekend. So it's usually like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it's pretty intense, but it gives you a taste. You're not going to learn how to read tarot in a weekend, but it gives you that kind of initial taste.
Gives
and
you
then
an itch.
Yeah,
an itch to scratch.
A splinter in the mind.
With more tarot. Needs more tarot. Excellent. Well, Graham, did you get your answers? Are you satisfied?
Yeah, I am very, very much. Thanks.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thanks for your time.
Hey, I want to thank you guys. So much, man. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for bearing with us through all our bullshit in the beginning. As usual, we had a bunch of audio gremlins, and we're trying to figure out the new stream, and it was just a bit of a disaster. It took us 20 minutes, and of course, you were nothing but a gentleman. We appreciate that, Robert.
Thank you guys, man.
All
I really
right,
enjoyed it.
Thanks, man. Have a good sleep.
Take care.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye for
Bye-bye.
now. That was our chat with Robert Bonomo.
Yeah, it was great.
That was a good one. I wish I would have watched the documentary.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to watch it now.
Yeah, you should. It's really good. I mean, I saw some of it, but I shouldn't say it's really good because I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but I did see some of it.
Yeah.
What I meant to say is it sounds really good.
I'm gonna start watching it tonight. 27-parter. I can break it up. Bingo bango. Thanks for the documentary, Robert. It's free. Of course, it just throws it on YouTube.
The reading was awesome too. I did like the reading.
Graham's out.
It's very resonating.
Just fucking no one will show up for the podcast next week. My phone will just ring.
Yeah, bingo bango.
I'm non-local, motherfuckers.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got lots of good writings on here, lots of good articles. What QE3 will look like. Carl Jung. Oh, this is interesting. Carl Jung and the Origins of AA. That should be interesting. There and then, hang on, let me read a couple more here.
The Jung stuff is always fun too. Gotta be a better way to say that. I meant Carl Jung, Jung.
Then there's the moral hazard of modern banking, the 7 pillars of the matrix.
Man, it's hot in here.
Yeah, it's hot in here. And we're all zombies.
We made it through another summer without getting an air conditioner.
Yeah, we did. I think it's okay. I don't mind it.
That's what happens when you...
I try and appreciate the sun and the heat because it's only here for a few months and then we're back to the freaking snow again, right? We should live on the equator. We should be in Ecuador doing this.
Ecuador? How's the internet?
As long as we have good internet. I'm pretty sure some people do have good internet.
You could go to Ecuador. I'll go to the bush.
Okay, we'll do it. Sure. I want to be where it's like even Steven all day long, 85.
You might get sick of that. Then you fly, you'll go skiing.
I'm not sick of it. I won't get sick of it.
No?
No.
Maybe we get eaten by a shark. That would be bad for the show.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking that. I got a lot of my future interest is tied up with you. I don't know if I like that. Anyway, big thanks to Robert for coming on the show. Check out his stuff, support his work. Click the ads if there's ads in his stuff. I don't know if there's ads in there or not, but if there is, click on them for him.
Yeah, share it. Yeah.
Share all his stuff like he asked you to. Share our stuff. Support our show, grimerica.ca/support. Help us keep it commercial free, censor free, all that bullshit free. It might turn out one day that we do need to host our own stuff, so we kind of got to start preparing for that if people are getting kicked off the platforms.
Yeah, we got a couple controversial ones coming out, so actually they'll probably be out by the time people listen to this. But
we'll address it in the intro as well. But support the show if you can, guys. It is more important than ever. Grimerica.ca/support. And big thanks to everyone for checking out the new Grimerica stream. The links for that are on the webpage. But that's the new Grimerica live stream. So thanks to all those people. And I think that you got anything else?
No, that's it,
Sign
up for the newsletter, grimerica.ca/news. Support the show. Rate the show. Fucking spam Graham.
Yeah, send me your stories, comments, feedback.
Have a good fucking weekend.
Right on, buddy.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. All right, big thanks to the YouTubers for
putting up with your shit.
Putting up with our fucking time wasted in the beginning again, trying to figure out our audio gremlins. I keep saying I'm going to fix the studio. It never happens. But I'll get to it eventually.
It's more. I mean, now what is it? A mixer or a chord? I mean, it's something.
I think it's one chord grounded out somewhere. That's just just fucking.
You think that's what it is? Really? Is this what we have to deal with? The chords getting grounded out somewhere? What is it? Do you mean ground, like physically ground, mechanically, or electrically?
Ground electrically. Yeah, it's getting physically ground.
Well, that's what fucking Brody was saying, that the thing's gone. The fucking, what do you call it? The insert.
No, I don't think that's the problem. I think there's a chord.
These are all the possibilities.
It could be this jiggity jack.
It's one of those cheap Chinese jacks have broken before.
Belkin. It's Belkin. Easy.
And that means it's not Chinese?
I don't know.
I'm going to search it right now.
It'll say made in China if it is.
Playa Vista, LA.
Doesn't say.
LA.
Anyway, thanks to the people who are tuned in on YouTube. We're going to shut that shit down. We'll see you next week. We'll probably just come back for the Grimerica stream. We leave it open Wednesday night, so I'm going to shut it down right now. It'll go to some, I don't know what's going to be playing. It might be Billy Bones, actually. If it goes back.